Hey everybody, it's your friend and your guy and your preferred Steam Deck news vendor, Gardiner. Today we're going to be talking about what else but Steam Deck news. I'm really excited about this. There's actually a lot of Steam Deck news that's happened in the last couple of days, so we're just going to talk about this. The first thing I want to talk about is Flatseal. Now, the Steam Deck has had a really positive impact on the world of open source software, and there have been several projects that have reported massive upticks in the number of downloads. One of the biggest is Flatseal. Flatseal rocketed to the top 30 most downloaded apps on Flathub after March 31st. If you're not familiar, Flatseal isn't a Paper Mario spinoff about a seal named Flat. Instead, it's an application that manages Flatpak application permissions. It's a handy tool, and it's one that is absolutely necessary if you want to run a system that's heavily Flatpak oriented like SteamOS 3. Now, according to Martin LaHaye, or maybe Martine LaHaye, since the launch of the Steam Deck, the Flatseal app has seen at least 1,200 downloads per day and is now one of the most popular apps on Flathub. Congrats to building such a cool app, Martin. Or Martine, I still don't know how to pronounce your name. Next up, The Verge has blessed the Steam Deck as not a flop. Now, the preeminent source of all things right and virtuous, The Verge, has declared that Steam Deck is not a flop. And that's good news for everyone who believes in The Verge's ultimate authority in the space of video games. I mean, one could cite all of the YouTube channels that have found a fair amount of success from covering the Steam Deck, myself included, or you could instead see all the favorable news coverage from other less authoritative outlets. Forbes would be a good example. Or maybe you could observe the buzz among your non-PC gaming friends who have come to you for advice on which Steam Deck to buy. But you can imagine my relief when The Verge declareth from on high that the Steam Deck is not a flop. In all seriousness, it's actually a pretty good read, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Sean Hollister here, the author of the article. I just like to give The Verge as much of a hard time as possible because it's The Verge. Meanwhile, my friend Liam at Gaming on Linux has declared 2022 as the year of Linux gaming, the mythologically foretold advent of Linus's kernel we have all been eagerly awaiting, some of us for decades. And while we're here, check out Fan the Deck. He's one of my favorite new channels about the Steam Deck. Subscribe to his stuff. It's really great.
Hi, my name is Richard, and I love the Steam Deck. If you do too, subscribe and slap the bell.
All right, next up, let's talk about the Steam Deck plugin loader. This is something that I've been waiting for a little while here. One of the things that I was hoping to see from Valve was an official plugin support system and API for the Steam Deck UI. It makes a lot of sense to me, especially if they had a sort of Steam workshop that would allow independent plugin devs to make their own thing, right? Music integration, extended functionality, even things like trainers for single player games. I would love to see that kind of stuff. And it seems like some enterprising developers have built their own plugin loader, though at the moment it isn't quite as tightly integrated as I'd like to see. Developer Werewolf and several other folks have released a brand new version, 1.1.0. It's now easier to install, which is nice, but it also has a few bug fixes and quality of life features. For example, the loader will now re-inject itself into Steam when Steam is restarted, and the menu title will now show the plugin name when a plugin is loaded. And there's a lot more too. This is a great project, and I have tried to make my own plugin for it. Unfortunately, there isn't enough documentation yet, and that's the next thing I'd love to see from this project. Next up, Digital Foundry. So Digital Foundry has been hard at work putting together yet another fascinating look at the Steam Deck versus consoles. If you missed their first one, it was a great showdown between the Steam Deck and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. But in their latest video, they're actually comparing the Steam Deck to next-gen console games. What I find fascinating about all of this is that the Deck, the PS5, and the Xbox Series all have RDNA 2 APUs with ray tracing capabilities, and that's exactly what they put through their paces here. In the case of the Steam Deck, though, ray tracing is not yet accessible from the SteamOS side of things, at least not yet through Proton. The DirectX 12 bindings needed to access ray tracing hardware are just simply not implemented yet in VKD 3D. So in the Digital Foundry video, they actually used the baloney tier Windows driver in order to do the head-to-head comparisons. And even though there was a performance loss by using Windows on the Steam Deck, the results were striking. The Deck was able to hold its own against the next-gen consoles, and while it wasn't a complete blowout in favor of the Deck, Rich Ledbetter was seriously impressed with the power of this handheld. And I think that that is an important thing to hit on here. While many of us think of the deck as yet another PC, it's actually equally accurate to think of the Steam Deck as a next-gen handheld console, and one that can, in many instances, outperform the Xbox Series X console, and that is seriously impressive stuff. So next we're going to talk about Microsoft and the Halo thing that just happened. So Microsoft Game Studios seems to have released an update for Halo the Master Chief Collection with the Easy Anti-Cheat Linux library that the title needs in order to have Easy Anti-Cheat work on Proton. That's awesome to see. The file in question is actually easyanticheat_x64.so. This seems to be the file that Epic says needs to be included in order to make their games work on Linux with anti-cheat enabled. This is really exciting, except that nobody's been able to test if it works because it seems to have broken the game completely through Proton. But fret not, fellow ODSTs, if you want to play the game on your Steam Deck, you only need to rename or delete the Easy Anti-Cheat x64.so file, and the game should be functional again. Even with this issue, though, I think that it's good news. It really shows that Microsoft is looking to bring multiplayer and anti-cheat support to Linux and the Steam Deck for one of their first-party flagship franchises. This is fantastic news. They just need to fix the game first. And it might also indicate that we might get Halo Infinite support on the Steam Deck sometime soon as well. And I'd like to see that. And finally, let's talk about memes. So I hopped on the Steam Deck subreddit this morning in search of Steam Deck news to put in this video and found that people were just putting harmonicas up against their Deck's fan. And I was confused for a second, and then I realized it's a meme that I will never participate in. Mostly because it seems to not work for me, but this is a working harmonica. Anyway, I have to admit it, I wish that I had thought of this idea. I mean, it's so silly. I love harmonicas, and the Steam Deck it's just a marriage made in heaven. Anyway, I think this is a good place to end the video. I am so optimistic about the future of the Linux desktop, and I think that the Steam Deck was exactly the kind of momentum builder that we needed. It has really been so surreal to witness the public sentiment towards the idea of Linux gaming see such a tectonic shift in such a short while, but it's been nice to see nonetheless. I want to give a special shout out to my friends on Patreon and my YouTube members, without whom I wouldn't be able to do this work, so thank you. If you believe in the work that I'm doing and you want to help support this show and join the other Linux warriors, make sure you use the links below to pledge your monthly support. It's all greatly appreciated. I think that's going to do it for this video though. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day, happy Easter, and I'll see you guys in the next video. This video's coming out after Easter, but whatever.